Almost every week, we talk here to founders and different companies that are working in crypto and Web3 space. And we talk to them about what it's like to be working in this space and what it's like to grow the team, to scale a team, what are the skills required, what are the tips and tricks to get a job in the space, or maybe if you're a founder yourself and you're hiring, maybe some tips and tricks on hiring process. So this is kind of meant to be an educational session for everyone. And in the beginning, we usually spend about 40 to 50 minutes talking with the guest and talking about their team and company. And then after the 40 minutes, there will be time for everyone to ask questions about, again, like tips on joining crypto, switching full time, maybe tips at the working, and how to apply to the guest company. And today we have Camila Russo of the Defiant, and the Defiant is one of the top-notch DeFi news publications out there. I'm personally a subscriber to the newsletter and I visit the website quite often as well. I wish I had more time to read all their content because there's a lot of content in crypto overall. So Camila, how are you doing? Did you manage to connect your AirPods by now?
Yes, yes. Sorry
Yeah,
about
no
that.
worries, no worries, no worries.
All good.
Can you please intro a little bit about yourself and how did Defiant come along? When did you start it?
Yeah, of course. So a bit about myself. I am a financial journalist. Um, Before founding the Defiant, I was at Bloomberg News for 8 years. I'm originally from Santiago, Chile. And at Bloomberg News, I was based in New York, Buenos Aires, and Madrid, covering markets. And it was there that I started to cover crypto. I'm also the author of The Infinite Machine, the first book on the history of Ethereum. And yeah, that's me. I started the Defiant because I saw that in 2019 there was this incredible ecosystem of financial services and applications being built on blockchain technology. And it was just amazing that this whole new financial system was being created on open source uh, tech, and nobody was really covering it in a professional, kind of objective, unbiased way. So I decided to start the Defiant newsletter to cover it, kind of following the same standards I had learned at Bloomberg News. So that's kind of what motivated the Defiant. So our core goal is to become the most trusted information source for DeFi and Web3. We have now built what I believe is a reputable and trusted brand on the content side. We are now building a data product. Um, with my formation at Bloomberg, I believe that information is made up of content and data, and that the two are extremely necessary in order to make sense of the market. You can't have just content and you can't have just data. You really need the two of them. So that's what we're creating. And that's why, a big part of what we are hiring. We need devs to actually deliver the data platform that we're building. And so the kind of long-term mission is to become the Bloomberg of Web3 and DeFi.
Yeah, sounds like a super solid vision and foundation. You coming from Bloomberg and kind of building a very, certain ways like similar product or similar strategy to Bloomberg,
Mm-hmm.
both data and content. I'm curious, like you mentioned you've been starting it in 2019, and I feel for DeFi, it's still relatively early because everyone knows DeFi summer of 2020, where kind of
Mm-hmm.
all these DeFi products bloomed. But what caught your eye in 2019? Do you remember any specific projects that kind of got you into the space and captured your interest?
Yeah, so 2019 was where the very foundations of DeFi were being laid. So back then, there was MakerDAO, there was Uniswap, and there was Compound and Aave. And so with that, you already had kind of the backbone of um, an emerging financial system. You know, you had the central bank with the decentralized stablecoin, you had the exchange, and you had the money markets and kind of lending protocols. So to me, you know, that was like enough to realize, okay, there's something big here. You know, like these are all protocols that didn't even have tokens back then, but they did have users and they did have volume. So it looked like they were legit, you know, they were building something that was actually delivering a service and a product and solving a problem, and they weren't kind of just out to sell tokens, like had happened in the ICO era.
Mhm. Yeah, and so when you were getting started, was it just you, or do you have a like a co-founder or maybe a set of friends with whom you were starting to write in the newsletter?
No, I was very painfully alone. um, it was
Sounds
just me
familiar.
for a while. Yeah, yeah. It's yeah, I don't know. It's being a writer is it's very kind of like a solitary task. So it's just kind of the way that I've always worked. I wrote my book by myself in Bloomberg, of course. Like I wrote most of the stories by myself. So I started the newsletter by myself. And at the beginning, by the way, like I didn't immediately set out to build a media business or like an information business. The Defiant was supposed to be like a side project. Like, you know, like I left Bloomberg early 2019 to finish The Infinite Machine and to become an independent writer. So my plan was I would freelance, write about tech and crypto and finance, and the Defiant would be kind of my side project. Hopefully, you know, I could one day turn on subscriptions and maybe it would be a source of kind of supplemental income for me. But that was kind of the extent of what I had planned. So I wasn't kind of on the lookout for any co-founder because I didn't think the project was like big enough to need a co-founder. Um, but then it just like very quickly and organically started to grow. Like I remember reaching 1,000 subscribers really kind of in no time, and it just like started growing. I started getting really great feedback. I realized that I could, like people were willing to pay for the content I was putting out, which it was extremely validating. Like it was very scary for me after 8 years writing for Bloomberg to be putting myself out there without the Bloomberg name, without kind of three editors checking my stories, and people were still wanting to pay for that. So that was very cool to see. And then um, projects were also reaching out, like wanting to sponsor the newsletter. So that's when I realized, okay, like this can be an actual business, and I can do this full time, which was very cool. So um, yeah, it was just like running the newsletter pretty much by myself in 2019. In 2020, I started to uh, take on contributing writers. So people um, like Cooper Turley, like Lucas from Bankless, like Sebastian Aldasoro, and others who like then grew into like bigger personalities in um, in DeFi and Web3, and I think that was in part because they joined the Defiant and kind of gained visibility that way. But yeah, so you know, 2020 I started taking on contributing writers. um, Robin, who Robin Schmidt, who was at Harmony at the time, reached out to produce videos, which would be sponsored by Harmony. So I started collaborating with him, and through 2020, kind of very slowly, there was like a small community of contributors, uh, very kind of organically forming around the Defiant. And then um, at the end of 2020, I realized, okay, like this is not a newsletter anymore. Like we have a podcast, we have a YouTube channel. I had created a website to host all of the content that myself and contributing writers were producing, and that's when kind of I saw the bigger vision of like this data side to it, and kind of the Bloomberg news kind of vision. And that's when I said, okay, like I need to raise money, because I need like a full-time team. I needed to hire devs. Devs are expensive. So I was making enough money for just like for myself with the Defiant, but not enough to just like hire like a big team. So yeah, I raised 1.4 million at the beginning of last year, and that's kind of when like my full my like I had a team for the first time, and yeah, I had like I think 10 people, 10 people start on January 1st or like January 3rd. So I went from like being just by myself to having a 10-person team, um, just like over the new year, which was pretty cool. And then throughout the year, kind of the team grew to um, 20 people, about 20 people today.
Amazing. This is a quite a impressive story from start to scaling to raising to scaling even more. So you mentioned you had 10 people join pretty much full time, right? That was after you raised the round, right?
Yep, yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, after the round, I hired reporters, a growth person, and developers.
Awesome. And before the fundraising, did you like the people who were you were working with, right? So I suppose they were on freelance basis, journalists or contributing writers. Were you coming after them and trying to get them to write for Defiant, or did they kind of organically kind of DM'd you and like, hey, we want to have a contributed story? Was it like inbound or outbound for you?
Um, so contributing writers were a mix. Like some of them I reached out to, others were inbound. But then the full-time reporters, I definitely had to like go and seek, because it's hard hiring for a really small company with at the time at the beginning of last year. The Defiant didn't look anything like what it looks like today. Like we had this like massive transformation in the past year. um the Defiant back then was just like starting. It was just like this very kind of scrappy website. Most people still knew it as just the newsletter. So yeah, it was hard. It was hard to get like good talent and people to join full time.
I assume that's your first startup, right? Um,
It is, yes.
Yeah. Do you feel what would you say like some of the transformations that happened within you when you kind of went from no defined to defined to just like the newsletter and then when you started like raising and scaling, did you feel like you had to maybe like grow yourself or some like realizations and lessons that you kind of took you to the next level?
mm, you mean like for me personally, or like
Yep. Yep.
um
As a founder.
okay, as a founder? Yeah. um I guess like the thing that is important to me, and what kind of keeps me going, um and just like pushes me to do everything, is that I really really believe in the mission, that I laid out in the beginning. Kind of this need for high quality professional journalism about DeFi and Web3. I think this is so needed. I think there is very very little kind of quality information about DeFi, and I think it's really unacceptable. Like this is like a new financial system that's being built, and nobody is really reporting on it as as it should be. So I just see a huge opportunity, like we are kind of revolutionizing how money works. And I'm here very early. Like, I realize that this thing is gonna grow and blow up, and I have the opportunity to make something that becomes like the standard, like the institution for information. And so that's kind of the view that just makes me kind of, I don't know, like acquire all the skills I need as a founder, um, and kind of transform myself from journalist to CEO, which was
Mm-hmm.
very kind of odd. Like, I didn't expect um, to do that, but yeah, it's I think it's like having that drive and to execute and to deliver on this mission.
Amazing. Yeah, 100% agree with you that I think crypto, Web3, DeFi is still really lacking a really high quality material for people to read and educate and get educated. I think there's so much noise out there, anywhere from
Yeah.
Twitter, where it's only like degen speak and you cannot really tell whether people are sarcastic or not, and all the way to all these shills and this sensational thumbnails on YouTube, where also a little bit not very in depth content there. So I guess I believe you guys doing amazing job and you playing an amazing role in the space in terms of education and covering the space. Going back to kind of team and scaling. Do you have, like, now that you have, as far as I mentioned, 20 people on the team? Have you
Yeah.
developed any like processes or best practices for hiring people? Like, what's your interview process looks like?
Um, yeah. So far, to be honest, the interview process isn't extremely structured. Um, I think they're still kind of. I still kind of need to move on to the next phase of scale and just like professionalizing everything so that there are better processes and standards for that. But at the moment, what I've done is, for each kind of role that I'm hiring, I usually have someone from my team who is kind of the expert or like responsible for that field, do like a first round of interviews, and then once they kind of the candidate passes that filter, then I would I'll go and do kind of the final round of interviews. And I usually try to add kind of like a skill or like a technical test as well. So on the like for devs, my Isaac, our kind of project lead on the data product, he did he does like all the first round interviews and also introduces a technical test for devs. If they pass both things, like the interview and the test, then I'll go and interview. And what I screen for is more kind of on the like culture and values and kind of why Defiant, and like will they stick to like with us for the long term. Like, that's the kind of thing I'm looking for. While kind of in the first round of interviews, we will kind of focus more on like does the person have like the specific kind of technical skill for the role.
Understood. So let's maybe for a second speak about the roles that you yourself an expert in, which is journalists and writers. What
Mhm.
makes like an amazing writer? And I'm sure you interviewed and worked with a lot of them throughout your career, both in Defiant and in Bloomberg. What are those skills and like maybe some questions that you typically ask a journalist and a writer? And first of all, like, do you differentiate them? Would you say that they are different types of roles, a journalist and a writer? And what are those skills? How do you interview for the grad journalist, grad writer?
Yeah. So, I mean, at the Defiant, I use kind of writer and reporter and journalist kind of a little bit interchangeably. Like, all writers at the Defiant have to be journalists. Like, we are what we're doing is news stories. We're not writing essays. We're not writing kind of opinion posts. We're not writing kind of, uh, just like uh, medium posts or anything like that. It's like we're writing newsworthy stuff, um, with the exception of like tutorials and things like that, which is we're either kind of doing news or educational material. Um, and so for yeah, distinguishing a good writer, I'd say just like I think it's to me just like a way to tell is looking at their past experience. It's not like a huge kind of insight, but I like to see that usually I like to see that the person has had experience in news writing in a professional setting. There are kind of exceptions to that. I'm looking at YYC Trader, who is in the call. I mean, in the space right now. He's like a great exception, and I think that's also kind of an interesting hiring story. Uh, YYC is now a full time kind of editor and writer at the Defiant, and he came on very organically. He was just like a very active member of our Discord, and he just started giving me tips on things he was seeing in the market and in DeFi. And I thought, wow, like he has like a really good eye and is like really on top of things. And at first, he was just like taking care of our Twitter. And then, like, one day there was like nobody to cover this like breaking story. And I, like, on like a gut feeling, just put him on it and told him, hey, like, can you cover this? Like, he like was knowledgeable about whatever the story was, but I don't remember what it was, and he filed it and it was like perfect. Like hardly had to do kind of any edits to it, so that was like an exception. He was just like very naturally talented to be a news writer, but that is very kind of that's very odd, because usually I think people underestimate the skill it takes to write news. It's like, oh yeah, like I write blog posts, like I can write a news story, but that's really far from it. So a lot of times, like I get contributors who say, oh, like I'll pitch you a story, but what they pitch and what they deliver is very far from actually being a news story. So I've become like very distrusting of reporters with no experience, just because like I've been through many pitches from contributors who promise a news article, but then like it completely fails. So that's why I just like I look at their experience, at what they've written before, and I also do like a little test for writers. Like I hired my current writers, I told them, look at like the news that happened on the previous day and write a story on like something that catches your eye. And so that also gives me like further evidence whether on like how good they are.
For those who are not for those who are not seasoned news professionals here, could you maybe like define what really defines a news story versus just a regular article? What is that you're looking at in a news story?
Well, I mean, first of all, it needs to be something new, right? It needs to be something that hasn't been covered before. So people say, "Oh yeah, like I'm gonna write a story about um how like Cosmos is the next ecosystem that will kind of blow up." And I'm like, no, like that's not a news story. You're just like making things up. You're like, that's an essay. That it's very different. And I think that people in crypto, because there's like so much of that kind of speculative writing, it's very kind of common to confuse things. So like first thing, it needs to be something new that actually happened. It's not something that you think is going to happen or like you wish is going to happen. It's like something that happened, that is new, that hasn't been covered. So it's not like, oh, I'm just like rewriting whatever Cointelegraph wrote, um, something new that hasn't been covered, that's kind of surprising, and and that has some original reporting, whether it's kind of you gathered data to kind of back up what you're writing about, and you also interviewed people. So you reached out to experts in the field, and if it's something that kind of requires like an opposing side, you reached out to both sides of the story. So you need kind of all those elements in.
Mhm. Understood. Thank you so much for defying the news the news format. I just wanted to point out that this story that you told about how you hired one of your writers, someone who I mean, and you mentioned that she is in the Twitter space right now. If they can join us as a speaker, that would be fantastic because I think that story is very interesting because a lot of people, for example, come to me and including on this Twitter Spaces, people ask how to break in into the space if they do not have enough experience, right? And what he told, I think, is really almost like a classic example of a success story where someone was just proactive on Discord. They provided value, they showed their value, and when the time was right, you gave them an opportunity, and the person really kind of scored and like won that opportunity and proven themselves. So I think that's a really great lesson for everyone's listening here and who's trying to kind of bridge that gap from their previous career into crypto, into Web3 as well.
Yeah, it would be great if YYC wants to come up. But I'm I don't know if he can request to speak, or if you guys
I
can
think I
bring him
think I
up.
think he can. I think he can request. I'm not sure which account that is, but if you, sir, please can click on request to speak. We'd love to hear your perspective on how did you join Defiant and was like working there right now. There's a mic button at the bottom left. I'm not sure which account to request. Camila, do you know which account to?
Okay,
What's the name of it?
maybe he's feeling shy. I don't want to pressure him. But
Okay. No
yes,
worries, but
okay.
there is still
Mhm.
opportunity. We still have time. So
Yeah.
if your colleague will join, amazing. Okay, so back to so like for example, we talked about how you hire writers and how you hire certain people who are like not necessarily writers, right? When it comes to culture, I think you touched briefly on it. Do you have any other like maybe like some strong points about how your culture is formed? And like some of the key elements that you look for and profile for during the interviews.
Um. Yeah. It's really hard to kind of filter or kind of ask about culture, but I ask about kind of why they are interested in the Defiant. So if they're excited by our core mission and goals, then that's a great sign. I also ask about kind of how they have dealt with a difficult situation. So if they are people who are problem solvers and have a good attitude towards work and towards their like team members, that's something that I also look for. And yeah, I think in general it's like through the conversation, just like seeing their personality. Like I like to have in the team people who are just like nice people who are
Mm-hmm.
uh, fun to work with, who will get along with everyone, who won't be uh, conflictive. So those that kind of thing, it's just like more of like a subjective, and just like what I feel about them throughout the conversation. So yeah, not very kind of, there's not like a recipe for it, I guess, but it's just
Mm-hmm.
like more about like how they respond to different questions and how they have faced challenges in the past.
Amazing. Yeah, I like. I would like to highlight what you said about asking about challenges in the past. I think that's definitely a really strong indicator how they, what story the person tells. And if someone never had any challenges in life, that's a little bit, it's a little bit skeptical, I
Yeah,
guess, or I guess
that's
questionable.
exactly. Yeah, that's also a bad sign. Like you want someone who has had to face challenges and who has been able to kind of resolve them in a good way, you know. So it kind of speaks to the level of experience that the candidate has too.
And I guess someone who's mature enough to be vulnerable to show that vulnerability that they've went through things in life and they came out of it. Okay. Do you have any
Exactly.
other?
Yeah.
Do you have any other like favorite questions that you typically ask through the interviews?
Um, Let me think. Well, like two great questions that I do is um, what like what's your dream job and what do you want to be doing like in the future, like 5 years from now. It's like a cliche question, but I think it's very telling because it'll kind of tell me whether their career paths are in line with the Defiant. So to me, like I guess like one of the most important things I've learned as a founder is that I want everyone in my team to be doing work that they enjoy. Like, I don't want to force anyone to do something they don't like. Of course, like, there will be aspects of the job that are not their favorite, but in general, like, I want people to be satisfied and happy because that's how people produce the best result. And that's how people will stick around for the long term. And kind of that's what I'm looking for is someone who is very happy and will and sees themselves as a part of the team in the long term. So I think those are like two very key questions for me.
Mhm. And once someone's onboarded on the team, what's your kind of day to day or maybe weekly work process like? Because I guess like, are you fully remote? Are you all concentrated around one city? What's that work culture looks like?
Okay, so we're like extremely distributed and remote. um I think, well, there's like a little bit of a hub in New York and another another hub in the Netherlands. Um, but like the entire video team is in the Netherlands, and a couple of us are in New York. But other than that, everyone is kind of pretty much by themselves in a different city. And that kind of is a little bit uh, challenging. I think it's great to provide that sort of flexibility, both kind of for me to hire the right talent, and also for just like my team members to feel comfortable and have that level of freedom. But sometimes I do wish that we were kind of all working in the same room. um but yeah, I guess like that's not for this space or this age. So
Hmm.
um yeah, so that's yeah, we're all kind of distributed and remote. um Everyone has their every kind of team within the Defiant has their own kind of work flow. um each team usually has like a daily call between them. So like the print team has a call where we decide coverage. The dev team has their daily stand up, and well, the video team they are working all together and then in the studio. So I guess the communication is more fluid there, but we do have a weekly call with them and myself to like coordinate coverage as well. And the growth team, same thing. They have like a buy, like they have calls like twice a week and then once a week to check in with me. And then everyone has kind of their tasks uh, laid out in those kind of like planning calls.
Amazing. Do you have any like favorite tools that powers productivity at the Defiant? Do you like, for example, are you all on Discord, or is it Discord and Slack? Is there any other communication tools or kind of project product management tools that you guys favor?
We're all on Discord. That's kind of the main place that we chat. We have like our kind of like everyone in the Define can see the chats of like each team. So like the print team can see what the development team is talking about. So that way, they used to be kind of like private to each team, but then we open them to make sure that everyone is kind of involved in what kind of the other parts of the organization is doing. And I think that that was a good call. So Discord and Airtable, we have kind of that's where we organize like the different sprints for developers, and that's where reporters file their stories and editors pick them up. And then on the kind of design side, we work with Figma. I guess like those are I'd say the main tools, and well, maybe Canva as well for like making some of the graphics. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Amazing. Very modern stack. I think all the cutting edge apps, which is amazing. Cool. Not on Notion. Not a fan of Notion.
No, we haven't kind of had the need to use it
Hmm.
so far.
Cool. Yeah, great. Airtable goes a long way. Yeah, I
Hmm.
think one of the I gotta go jump back into kind of team and kind of interviewing. I think one of the common questions that we get here is around anons and anonymous contributors. Have you had experience working with anons, or what's your views on getting maybe like some news stories from anonymous contributors?
Oh, I'm totally fine with anons. Well, actually, I mean, YYC Trader, the editor I was talking about earlier, he's anon. I've never seen his face. It's really
Awesome.
crazy. Like we've been working together like maybe a year now. At least I don't know, like several months. And yeah, I've never seen his face. Nobody knows his name, but he's made like such amazing contributions to the Defiant. So I have no problem with Anons. I guess like what I'd say is that to me, like what matters most is just like their track record and their contributions. So, you know, if they can show that they've done good work before, that they have experience in whatever they're doing, um, I don't mind that they're anonymous.
Have you? I'm not sure with how many anons you worked in the past. That I would expect you probably interview quite a few of them for the stories. But have you developed or seen
Yeah,
some tips and tricks around how to build trust with one, and maybe advice for anons that are currently in the room of how to kind of stand out and build that trust with the company?
yeah, that's a good question. So, like, I haven't interviewed any anon kind of formally. Like I don't think I've had any anon like apply to like one of my posted jobs. So I hadn't had kind of that experience. And maybe it would be harder to take on an anon from without having worked with them directly before. So I think for anonymous contributors, probably the best way to join a project is to start contributing um, in the Discord or kind of in the community uh, beforehand, and just like have the work speak for itself and kind of build trust that way. um, and then eventually that may turn into a full-time job. uh, I think that that's probably the way to go, and rather than kind of applying like just like formally um, and just like going about it the traditional way.
Yeah, so the TLDR here is be active, be part of the community, provide value. Would
Yeah,
that be a good way to
pretty
summarize it?
much.
Hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Awesome. Do you find there are certain like skills that are lacking the most currently in the market in the talent market, and whom are you hiring right now as well?
I feel like every every kind of talent is lacking. It's a tough job market right now. It's like everyone is hiring, and yeah, like all the kind of top talent gets hired very very quickly. I find. Um, I think I don't know from my perspective, it's been tough to find like data engineers. It's also been tough to find backend developers. And for some reason, web developers, I thought that would be easier. But we haven't had much luck recruiting for web developers. Um, Crypto reporters are super hard to find because, it's like you need to find someone who is a good reporter and also knows about crypto. I like I would be open to hiring a good reporter who doesn't know about crypto, but I much rather prefer a writer who does because we're such a small team that just like taking the time to train the person. So that combination is super hard to find, and I feel like there's a lot of competition right now in the outlets are popping up. So that space is getting super competitive. And
Okay, breaking up a little bit. I'm not sure whether it's the internet connection here. Right? Camila, are you still with us? Uh-oh. I wonder if it's just me or I cannot hear Camila at all
oh,
right now.
hello,
Hello? There we go. Now I can hear you. But I guess there are interruptions. Here.
hello,
Yes, can you hear us? One, two, three. I wonder if the internet is lagging on my end or it's at your end.
hello. No, I think it's on my end. I think that should be better now, right?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly well
All right, good, good. Sorry
right
about
now.
that. Sorry
No
about that.
worries, no worries, no worries.
Yeah, I'm in Rio for East Rio, and the internet connection isn't the best. So, but
Oh yeah.
yeah. So yeah,
Any? Mhm, go on.
yeah. I was just saying, like, it's been hard to find backend developers, web developers, and crypto reporters.
Mhm. Maybe you could like list specifically any like titles that you're currently hiring for, or I can help you list as well.
So we're looking for a lead backend developer. We are also looking for data analysts and data engineers. We're looking for web developers. We are looking for reporters. Um, and and those are the main roles. We do have a community manager role that's open, but we are actually about to fill that. So I think we're going to be good on that end. Um, yep, that's that's mainly
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
amazing.
Mm-hmm.
For those who are listening and interested, make sure to apply. Either go directly to the Defiant and they have a careers page, or check out them on Crypto Jobs List. They're
Yeah.
also hiring through us, and we have quite a few job ads.
Yes, yes, yes. We supply. So just like a quick this description, like the backend developer, what they'll do is make sure that all the data that we're gathering for our data product is stored and secure and that kind of the data terminal itself has like sound infrastructure. The web developer, what they'll do is it's a big job. It's like we're migrating our WordPress site and our Substack newsletter onto Ghost. And after that, like after doing that migration, the job will be maintaining the Defiant website and kind of mailing platform. And then of course, well, the crypto reporter will be writing about the most exciting corner of. So it's a good job.
Amazing. Yeah, I feel like I should have asked this question earlier, but maybe you can tell us a bit more about the data product, so that it also sounds more exciting to people who are considering joining Defiant. Are you gathering like on-chain data and you're processing it, or is it just like different news feeds? Just tell us more about the data product that you're working on.
Yeah. So okay, so the data product that we're working on is just like it's extremely valuable and so needed in DeFi. We are gathering on-chain data about all the major metrics and assets in decentralized finance and Web3. So you can find all that information in one place in a way that's standardized and extremely customizable. So and also just like very just like all encompassing and just like very detailed. So things like historical lending and borrowing rates, like yield farm yields, like liquidity pool volumes, like TVL, and of course just like more vanilla metrics like token price and market cap and supply and all that stuff. But we're like very much kind of drilling down on specifically DeFi data that you can't really find anywhere and providing historical data for that and a platform to just like easily pull that data up without requiring any technical knowledge. So not like Dune Analytics where you need to like know how to write SQL and where all the data is kind of not very standardized and not very trustworthy. In the Defiant, it's like you can trust that the data is kept up to date and it's real time, and you don't need any kind of technical knowledge to create any sort of chart and table that you want. So it's a extremely powerful tool. It's really kind of it's really modeled after the Bloomberg terminal. So it has kind of that sort of um, use like use case and look and feel, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. Cool. Yeah, I was about to bring up Dune Analytics as well, and was wondering whether it's like similar or not. I think there's a few other products out there, like Nansen. I'm not sure if you're going in that direction or not. And I think DeFi Pulse, but DeFi Pulse is, I think, a little bit more simpler, I guess, than what you're working on building.
So yeah, Nansen is a great product, I guess. Where we differentiate is that all these products kind of give you like limited data series and sets and kind of um, functionality. It's like, okay, with Nansen, you can analyze a kind of specific wallet, or you can get kind of specific data sets, but you can't really kind of customize the data in the way that you want. Like right now, there's nowhere in DeFi where you can chart MakerDAO TVL against uh, lending rates for USDC in Compound. I don't know, like something completely, that level of like customization and historical information on DeFi, like nobody is providing that, and that's what we're building.
Awesome. Yeah, this has been fantastic. I think we're coming to an end of kind of the first section. Is there any questions that I forgot to ask you, or you wish I asked you by any chance?
I think we covered a lot, but yeah, I just want to say like, um, we're we're building something big. Like we have a huge vision. We're just getting started. um I see kind of this year as the Defiant going to the next level. Like we're entering kind of a new phase of kind of finally launching the data side of the Defiant, and also just like ramping up our content side of things, so that we go from kind of niche DeFi news outlet to like more mainstream Web3 information platform. So it'll be it's an incredibly exciting time to join the organization. Like we're hopefully you'll be kind of at the beginning of the Define, like really taking off.
The beginning of the hockey stick where
Yes.
things go exponential,
Yes.
where things go to the
Hopefully.
moon. Amazing. Thanks so much, Camila. This has been really, really interesting and insightful as well for me personally as well, and hopefully for everyone in the Twitter space today with us. Yeah, a quick like summary before we jump to Q&A. Please don't leave us. Please prepare your questions for Camila and for like working in crypto overall. I just wanted to say that we, as in previous times, we have a Pope NFT to redeem. So make sure to go to the Defiant page on Crypto Jobs List. Take a look at their current openings. Apply for them, and there will be a widget where you'll be able to kind of request to claim your Pope NFT, and we'll email it to you. We're still again kind of experimenting with the claiming process, so please be patient. And yeah, do make sure you follow both Defiant News and Crypto Jobs on Twitter. That is like one of the requirements that we check for while claiming Pope NFT. And for you, Camila, don't worry about this. I send you a link so that you don't have to kind of rush right now to claim it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think these Pope NFTs been pretty fun for everyone who's participated and listened to our Twitter Spaces. Yeah, once again, just go to the Defiant page on Crypto Jobs List. I'm not, just do your own exploration. I'm not intending to make it too easy to claim. But yeah, and yeah, once again, this show will be available as a recording on pretty much all podcasting apps out there, so you can listen once again to Camila and the story of the Defiant and how they're hiring, and maybe you will take away some tips on how to get into space. Anyway, right now let's jump into Q&A, and let's hope that we have some good quality questions. And again, some housekeeping around a Q&A is make sure you have an interesting Twitter profile. We try not to invite people with like completely blank Twitter accounts. Do not do too much chilling. Quickly introduce yourself and ask a question. We see quite a lot of, maybe your colleague will be able to join and give some comments. I see Harith from Etherscan, community manager at Etherscan. Maybe Harith has some questions. Please, guys, don't be shy. Request a microphone access at the bottom left of the app. All right, we have add as a speaker. First person to ask question, Kobe Bayashi. I think that's Mr. Ash.
Good evening. Thank you, Camilla, for the informative talk. Love the name,
Yeah.
company name, Defiant, super cool. So I have two
Awesome.
questions for you. One, you bear such a huge responsibility. It's like shouldering the world and printing the absolute and unbiased truth. How did you ever solve the persisting challenge of misinformation containment?
Well, okay, so thank you for that. Well, I've definitely not solved that problem. I wish I had solved the problem of misinformation. Um, what we can do at the Defiant is just, aim to provide a trusted source where you know that if a news story is coming from us, we will have done our absolute best to verify everything and just provide the most accurate account. So that's kind of what we promise you.
Perfect.
And we do this by just like upholding just like common high journalism standards. And yeah, that's kind of all we can do. There will be kind of misinformation in the space, but you can rest assured that the Defiant won't be it, and we'll be providing accurate info.
Perfect. So cool. Okay. Now the second question. I happen to be the meme lord for Crypto Jobs List. So I regularly meme,
Nice.
and that's how I got noticed by Ramsa. So, do you have a CMO position, a Chief Meme Officer position in your company, or do you even like intend to hire? Thank you.
That's nice. Well, yeah, we have we have a community manager role that's about to be filled, as I mentioned. We do not have a chief meme officer, so I mean, maybe we should have. I think we're kind of lagging on our meme game. So yeah, I'm open to opening that role.
Thank you, Camilla. Thank you so much. I wish you all the best and your company.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for the question, Ash. Amazing. All right, we have another person to Mr. Dingus, or Dr. Dingus, whatever that means. Let's hear what Sir has to say. Please do a quick intro about yourself and ask your question. Dr. Dingus, and unmute yourself. There is a unmute button.
Sorry. I was having a connection issue, I think. First of all, thanks for holding the spaces. And I guess I have more of a generic question. Currently I'm a product manager, kind of e-commerce, logistics, enterprise software. And I'm actually moving back to the US this summer. And it's a good time for me to kind of transition my career. And so I'm I guess semi-technical, but more just a product person, and was wondering if there's any tips of where to get started with that type of skill set.
Interesting. Okay, so like the kind of answers I can give are just like from my own experience. Like I've said before, like this is my first company I founded, and before this I was like a reporter at Bloomberg. Like I don't have like that much kind of corporate experience, but in the case of the Defiant, what like how we got our like current product manager for the terminal product is it's it's similar to like how many of the roles have formed, which is organically. Like so Isaac started out as our front end developer, and he was very good, and he was like always providing suggestions on how to improve our process and improving our kind of sprint planning, and just like naturally took this kind of leadership position and just like helped me uh just like rely on him on a lot of the responsibility of like planning the jobs around like finishing this data product. So one day I realized, okay, so maybe Isaac should just like be in charge of this team. Like it's very hard for me to just like have the full responsibility of every single team in the Defiant. So like at some point last year, I started kind of delegating some of these roles, and that's how like the our current product manager stepped up. It was like from a role kind of from a different role that kind of transitioned into that. So I don't know if that's kind of the best way to do it, but that's how it happened in the Defiant.
Yeah, great, thank you. Yeah, I don't have. I guess I'm struggling a little bit because I've tried to get involved in some projects, but I don't really have like a finance. Like I'm really interested in DeFi, but I don't have like a finance background, so I don't necessarily have a lot of direct experience or skill set with kind of financial tooling. There's not a lot of direct feedback I can apply there, I guess. And since I've been kind of, my career has been more around this like e-commerce and supply chain and logistics. Definitely use cases for crypto and e-commerce. I think supply chain and logistics is maybe blockchain really is not there yet for that. So I'm kind of struggling, is there kind of certain areas I should try to target? But I think just trying to get involved as much as possible with projects that interest me is kind of the path I'm taking. So I appreciate your input.
I think like even if you're not like in the case of the Defiant, it happened with like a dev that then transitioned into product manager for the terminal. But I think the same can happen with other projects within kind of other organizations. Like you can start contributing to a project that you like, and then just like prove that you're just like prove your skill set and how you can be helpful, and then that will kind of naturally hopefully evolve into that product management role. I think that's what kind of the great opportunity that crypto provides, is that you can kind of like slowly sneak in to a role, because it's like organizations are so open that you can start just like contributing without having a formal role. So it's like you're undergoing this like long interview process, which takes patience and work and all of that, but at least it gives you a chance to get a job in an area that you maybe don't have the experience, but that where you can kind of like prove that you can still provide value.
Cool. Thanks for that.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a few comments here. Is that I think the few companies that came to mind that are sort of like a bridge between e-commerce and crypto is Lolly. So I think they doing like a Chrome or browser extension where you're able to earn a little BTC every time you shop online. It's like similar to Honey. I think it's like a product where you kind of get coupons and get discounts. What else is there? There used to be this project. I'm not sure if they're still like how active they are, but it's called Open Bazaar, OB1. They also doing. I think they were one of the early kind of this kind of e-commerce, decentralized e-commerce providers, mainly powered by Bitcoin. And I think they've been around since, I guess, definitely pre 2019, even pre 2018. And if you look into like payment providers like Coinbase Commerce, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of companies that are trying to integrate Coinbase Commerce, or they themselves, they work with a lot of merchants, or I hope they work with a lot of merchants because that's kind of their target market to integrate crypto payments with e-commerce providers. So I guess this is just like high level kind of ideas around maybe like the companies that you should research, or maybe like similar companies that you should look into that are into that in that intersection of e-commerce and crypto, if that field still interests you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Let's see who else we have questions from. Let's see. Okay, let's give a chance to Mr. Joshua. Please make a quick introduction of yourself and ask a question.
Developer with Flutter and also a crypto enthusiast and blockchain enthusiast. So, Reman, I had a question for you. As a mobile app developer, I don't know if there are certain rules for mobile app development for the blockchain industry. And if the answer is true, then what are the things I should look out when applying for a particular role? Then can you?
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
Yeah, thanks for the question. Yeah, I've definitely seen quite a few roles out there for mobile developers. They're definitely not as not as popular, not as frequent, but they're out there. And from what I'm seeing most of the time, that is like, for example, either a mobile wallet, and that's kind of like a category on its own, which I think requires quite an in-depth skill set. And usually, companies that build mobile wallets, to my knowledge, they're just using native, like iOS native or Android native. Maybe there are some wallets out there that use React Native, or some other kind of virtualization environment. But I also seen quite a lot of like non-wallet companies building their mobile apps, anywhere from portfolio trackers to news publications. Like, for example, both CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko, they have their own mobile apps where pretty much like informational. So like in distinction from wallets, in wallets like security is paramount. So like they spend a lot of time and they try to find like really advanced engineers for to help build their wallet. But with it's like probably lower entry to get into some of the informational apps out there. Yeah, and just like look for iOS mobile native jobs out there, including on Crypto Jobs List. We'll try to like maybe surface them a little bit more, and we'll see whether we can create like a dedicated category for mobile developers. Yeah, hope that answers your question.
Okay, yeah, that answers my question to an extent. So, like, I have applied for some certain roles, but I seem not to get any placement yet. So, I just want to know, are there some things, some kind of requirements which I should be looking out, or things which I should work on in order to get a role?
Yeah, I think as with most roles, you just want to make sure that you're really, really, really like top notch. I think there's a lot of mobile developers out there, because it's quite a big established industry, and maybe not all of them are crypto enthusiasts, or like they're not necessarily knowledgeable about crypto. But I think the reality is, for mobile development in crypto, there is still not that many roles that require both in-depth understanding of crypto and mobile dev. You just need to be a very, very strong mobile developer, because I guess right now, most of these companies, they will just go to kind of existing job boards, or like LinkedIn or Upwork, to post and hire a mobile developer. It's not even a requirement to be like kind of crypto native or crypto advanced. I think there are more and more of these companies, like wallets, especially like Argent Wallet, Trust Wallet, Rainbow, etc. But I guess they're in minority. Yeah, just keep applying. Make sure you have a top-notch skills. Make sure you have a really solid portfolio. Make sure you have a strong GitHub with a lot of green green squares on your GitHub, that you actually are super active as a developer. And I think people would be happy to talk to you if you have a very strong portfolio.
All right, okay. Thank you, Raman.
Sure.
Camila, do you have any open role for mobile app developers?
No, not at the moment. I'm sorry about that. Maybe in the future when we develop the Defiant mobile app, but that's not in kind of in the very immediate roadmap.
All right, thank you so much.
All right,
Sure.
thanks,
Okay.
Joshua. All right, next up is DeFi Zelot, GG.
Hey, thanks for inviting me up here. So, I've been in software development for the last 20 years, and my specialty right now is around uh, doing like product owner role, where it's like there is a roadmap, and taking it and executing it with the development team, right? And the interesting thing that I've noticed is that in the crypto world, I haven't seen like a lot of the projects. They just kind of lots of people wear many hats, and I haven't seen as much organization in terms of like outside of devs and project managers. So I guess my question is kind of two pronged. One is like I have had this background. I'm currently in the genomics industry. We make software for COVID labs down in California, where we're helping them, take huge or scale up to meet the challenge of that, right? And what I'm wondering is, and I have recently, in the past couple of years, become a crypto degen. I played in all of the chains, currently focusing mainly on the Cosmos and Terra blockchains. But as a user, right, I have played in all of those, Phantom and Ethereum and Avalanche and all of those places. And from my experience as a product manager, I have come up with some really interesting ideas about a couple of new products. But the thing that I'm finding is that there's a lot of like hacker houses and things like that. But I'm wondering, like, what would be your advice to me where I have this like really interesting, well developed idea, but I'm coming at it from a user's perspective and like a product perspective, but I don't have like the technical side, right? And like, what would be the best way to kind of find a team to kind of hash out the idea for a DApp? I've thought about starting to go to conferences, but I would love some tips on like where to get started. And I'm looking forward to transitioning from doing regular Web 2 stuff to Web 3 stuff with that.
Awesome. Well, I mean, first of all, that's great, and I fully encourage you to make the jump. I think this is obviously like such a fascinating space and the future. So that's great to hear. I think like I wouldn't hold back on building the product that you think is needed just because you're not technical. Like I'm not technical, and I just went ahead and started developing this data platform. And we've been able to deliver a very kind of bare bones version of it in 1 year with 4 people. So it's doable. And I mean, how I did it is I had this idea, and for devs I like literally just like made job posts uh, on kind of LinkedIn and Indeed. But I don't think that's the best way about it. I think going to hackathons is probably a great way to find a team. I think at hackathons you're able to just like go with an idea, and then find people who want to hack on it and work on it there. So I don't know, I'd keep a lookout on different hackathons. um like all these kind of layer ones are always just like sponsoring new conferences and new hackathons all the time. So I would keep my eye out for that. I think conferences are also a good place to find devs. I met a ton of devs here in Rio actually. So it was really great to come and just like talk to people and kind of tell them your idea and tell them your product, kind of just like get out there and start kind of shilling your idea to everyone and see who likes it and who'd be kind of willing um to do it with you. um what else? Oh, there's also just like websites that pair founders with devs. I don't know how good they are though. But yeah, I know there's like a couple of them. I don't know the names, but I'm sure like if you look them up, like there's websites that are like dedicated to this. And there's also like there's an I think it's like an ETH dev Discord. I don't know if like anyone knows if that's the actual name. But there's like a really big and active um, Discord server for devs, and that's a good place to just like post your idea and see if like somebody uh, is up for the challenge of building it. Yeah, I guess like starting out, um, being able to bring someone on as a co-founder is a really great draw. So that's something that you have in your favor, the fact that you're just starting out, and it's kind of this brand new thing that you and somebody else can build together. I think that's kind of a very attractive proposition to have.
Yeah, thanks, Camila. Big fan. I've read your book and all of that, so really appreciate that. The one of the things that I struggle with is that, like, in the Web2 job that I have, it's very fulfilling and very well paying as well, right? And I have my place, and I'm work life balance is great, but like, to start something new is also like kind of very scary, because you have to like go in with putting a lot of time and stuff into it. So that's where I'm like kind of every over the last 4 or 5 months, the idea has been like, it came up, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just be an investor for now and learn more, and then forget about this. Somebody will come up with it at some point. But then it's such a powerful idea that it keeps on coming and bugging me every day, right? So thanks for your recommendations, and I really appreciate that.
Awesome. I mean, I'd say kind of if you feel passionate about it, and it's something that you've been mulling over for months and months, um, yeah, maybe, maybe a good first step is to try building it like during your full-time job, and then kind of transitioning. I guess like that can be less scary than just like making the jump. Um, but I mean, from someone who's kind of gone from like a very secure job to being a founder, it's like a million times harder, and it does not provide good work-life balance. um, but it's like it's so fulfilling. I would not ever go back to just having a regular job. If it's something that you believe in, and that you really want to do. I mean, from my perspective, uh, I think it's really worth it. It's kind of it's so amazing to just like create something from scratch that wasn't there, and like and do something that you own is really cool.
Makes sense. Thank you so much.
Thanks for the question, DeFi. Amazing answer, Camila. I definitely agree on going to hackathons and to events to find people. By the way, Camila, how much time do you have left?
I can probably do one more question.
Okay, well, I think we have like 3 more people lined up. 15 minutes.
Oh.
How are you doing? Like 10 less
Yeah,
minutes?
that's okay. Let's do the 3 questions. That's fine.
Okay. All right. So to be respectful of your time, it's getting late. All right. We have Peng, Apurv, and Vignesh, and I think we'll stop there. All right, guys. Please make a quick introduction about yourself and ask your question. Peng, just unmute yourself.
Can you hear me? Just
Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Just want to confirm.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, great. I'm working as a growth manager in Longhash. We are an Asia-based VC. I think my question is more about compensation. So how, for example, you have one role, and let's say 2% is applying for that role. One person lives in New York or Hong Kong, where the cost of living is very high, and another person lives in maybe Indonesia or India, where cost of living is super low. And obviously the pay expectations are different because of their cost of living, but they're both applying for the same job. How would you reconcile that? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, like I have found that there is kind of some degree of not flexibility, but like of like some difference that you can do to um to adjust for location, but it's not that big. At least it hasn't been in my case, because if you're like a blockchain developer, you know how much kind of your job is worth, even if you're in Indonesia. And actually, one of our developers is in Indonesia. And so they know what their job is worth, and they won't be willing to take that big of a cut because their cost of living is low. And I found that to be the case with other kind of roles as well. It's like crypto jobs are in and like very kind of high quality talent um in crypto is in such high demand that I think kind of location, it's like you can't really say offer that much lower salary because of location. Maybe I'm kind of, spending more than I should, but that's kind of what I have found.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks for the question. All right, let's speed this up. Apurv, Mr. with the Socrates on the profile picture. I think it's Socrates, right? One of the Greeks. Please ask your question, sir. Unmute your mic. Your mic is muted.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Apurv. Do you have a question?
Hello. Am I
Yeah, we can
audible?
hear you. Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, hi. I hope you guys are, I hope you all are having a good day. First of all, thanks, Raman, through Crypto Jobless. I recently got a interview fixed with Telos Foundation, so I'm really thankful for that.
Amazing.
And I started out as a community manager in this industry, and then I went on and got a operations position at a startup, and then did a couple of product gigs. Now I plan on venturing into the development side of things. So, what do you think ideally would be the right way to go about it? Since I am 20 years old and I took after graduating from high school, I took a break year, so I'll be getting into a university in US. I'm currently in India, and I have around 5 to 6 months with me, and I plan on learning the basics of blockchain development and computer science. So, how do you think, like, exactly by keeping the current job or the by keeping the future job that I might get in this industry? Let's say I get a job at Telos. How do you think, or let's say, how should I balance the two things? What's the first question is, how do I go about it, like the development route? And the second question is, how do I balance the two things for the next 5 months? Thanks a lot, everyone.
Is that a question for Camila or for me or for both of us?
For both of you, like whoever can answer that.
Camila, do you have any tips? Because I have a few things to say here.
Oh yeah, then go for it.
Okay,
Go for
sure.
it. I
Yeah.
think you yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll try to be very quick. And so basically, yeah, it's amazing. Congrats on getting to American University. I think that's great. From the development perspective, just do as many, like, first of all, build things that you would like to use yourself. If you're into gaming, build a game. If you're into DeFi, build something DeFi related. I think an amazing part in crypto and blockchain is that a lot of things are open source. So just look at your existing, like, look at the projects that you like already and just clone them and build them and modify them, try to run them, see how they work inside. Just follow your natural curiosity. Don't try to like force yourself on some project. Like, for example, if you're not into NFTs, don't try to force yourself onto NFTs just because they're hip. If you're in NFTs, amazing. Just look at the existing NFT projects, NFT contracts. Go to Etherscan and look how they are being deployed. What's the code? Start tinkering with it. And I think that's one of the best ways to learn engineering and development. And yeah, like look at tutorials. There are a lot of videos. There are a lot of written content about how to do something, and just build it. And I would say, most importantly, while building projects, complete them. So they are small, they are simple, and they are completed. They are like a functioning product, even if it's just like one feature. If it's like a simple calculator that does 1+1, it's important that they're completed, and ideally they are like you launch them on the website or somewhere, or like launch them online. It's better to have like one completed project instead of 20 half baked projects. But again, eventually, always like quantity goes into quality. So just do a lot of these things. Try to complete them as much as you can. In terms of balancing, I actually myself also was starting crypto jobs and building it while I was working on consulting projects and on kind of pretty much full-time job. And usually for development, I'd say the best time to work on your side projects is early in the morning, at least like in my experience. But yeah, dedicate some part of the day every single day to work on your projects or on your passion project. And again, maybe for some people it's in the evening. I personally find it's best to do it early in the morning before your day starts, before your main job starts. Yeah, and good luck. Just follow your interests. Hope this was useful.
Yeah, it was definitely insightful. Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
And
awesome.
I look forward to more of these Twitter Spaces. These are very insightful, and it can help us a lot in a lot of ways.
Yeah, thanks so much for asking the question. Yeah, and make sure to like listen to the recording, so you'll be able to probably like revisit some of the tips that you've heard here. Okay, we're running on time. I think Camila needs to go soon. Last question from Vignesh. Vignesh, please go ahead.
Hey Camilla. So my question is like, as a news organization, like, how do you like kind of de-risk from a Web2 company like Google News, which is like something that a lot of uh, news companies struggle to deal with. Especially in crypto, I think like a few years ago, like Google, they just straight up said they were going to like pick a handful of news sites like Bloomberg and stuff like that for crypto news, and not give importance to like the news sites that have been reporting on crypto for like a really long time. So this is like uh, I don't know. This is like kind of an issue. Like like risks from these Web2 companies is like something that's very real for a news company. So like how do you guys deal with it?
Yeah, so like for a news organization, being on top of Google News is a huge advantage and undertaking. So the way that we deal with it is like two ways. Like one is just like optimizing to make sure that we are appearing high up on search. So we do this like at the Defiant. We have an edge, which is that we are in kind of a more niche area and not trying to cover all of crypto, like other outlets are. So because we're writing about more specific terms, we can rank higher for them. So at times, the Defiant will be kind of the only crypto outlet or the main crypto outlet writing about something, and that will get us higher on the Google ranking. And we are kind of ranking high for many kind of DeFi related terms. So that strategy is playing out well. Um, and then the second one is a lot of our traffic comes directly from our newsletter and also from our social media channels. So just like making sure that we have a more direct way to get to our audience that doesn't rely on search. So I think having a strong newsletter is extremely powerful for a new media company.
Awesome. Thanks for the question, and thanks for the answer, Camila.
Sure.
Yeah. Shall we be wrapping up? Or one more question? Oh no. I think it's been a long hour and a half for you, and I know it's very intensive to be speaking. Shall we be wrapping up? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. This has been great, Raman. Really, thank you so much for inviting me. I've loved kind of chatting about our job postings and kind of what we look for in hires, and it's been a really kind of interesting interview. I don't usually talk about these things, so thanks for giving me the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you so much for saying yes and coming on. I was personally very like excited and like I don't know, intimidated maybe in a certain way because you're the bigger journalist here. I'm definitely not a journalist, and I'm not necessarily consider myself an interviewer. But I think this has been played along really, really, really well, and I really enjoyed your answers and kind of the story of the Defiant and how you guys grew. And I hope you will go exponentially and to the moon
Awesome.
this year, especially. Hope we'll
Thank
be
you
able
so
to
much.
help and drive more interesting candidates to your amazing team. Yeah, thanks once again. Thanks everyone who tuned in and asked great questions. Please keep asking these questions. And once again, this will be available as a recording. So go to your favorite podcasting app, search for Work in Crypto. Also we'll publish the recording on the Defiant page on Crypto Jobs List. So you can go back and listen to it and hear some of the tips that Camila shared. Thank you so much. We'll be closing here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy the
Bye,
evening,
everyone.
Camila. Bye-bye.
Thanks
Thank you so
again.
much.
Bye.
Bye.